我关我的什么啊？我关我的 Facebook 了。Hello. So we're gonna go live soon. So today's topic is related to mental illness. Basically, it's about those who turn to have mental disorder, and also that involves in an accident that turns out to become vegetative state. So just a few more minutes, then I am going to start to talk about this. Great. Don't worry, I mean, all of this you can still look back into the videos. I think after the videos is ended, right, you can still look back. but there will be certain things that tricks it will be cut out. So for those who manage to watch live, it will be to your advantage, because not everything can be shared and continuously should be shown in the video on a repeated and recording basis. Okay, without further ado, let's start with today's topic. So it's something that I've done recently, and we actually managed to assist these patients and the family member to obtain a court order to sell their property. So today's topic is related to if you have a family member who suffers from mental illness, So mental illness means it can be in the form of schizophrenia. Is something like they are self-talking to themselves, or they turn to have certain mental disorder. Without further ado, let's look into what are the outcomes we're gonna look into for tonight's live sharing. Firstly, we need to know what is a mental disorder, and then secondly, what are these mental disorder patient or your family members or friends who has turned to have mental disorder? What can they do then in terms of their estate? When the estate, we talk about everything that they own, car, houses, even in terms of their daily activities. How can we help them? And lastly, let's look into, assuming today's we're going to talk about the mental health order. If you feel like they are pretending to have mental disorder, what can you do then? All right, firstly, under this Mental Health Act 2001, there are certain definitions on how we define a person or individual has turned to become mentally disordered. So under the section 66, right, of the Interpretation Act, they have actually defined unsound mind means it is someone who disordered person means someone who is unsound mind or an idiot. In this context, idiot is not those like literally idiot. It means they can't make decision rationally. And under the specific act, we call the Mental Health Act. Under section 2, this unsound mind means they have mental illness and arrested or incomplete development of the mind, psychiatric disorder or any other disorder or disability of the mind, however acquired, and mentally disorder shall be construed accordingly. So in this situation, it can be someone who has mental disorder since they are born, or someone who obtained the state of mental disorder in their life after that. So essentially, there are two scenarios that you can sort of analyze here. Firstly, is someone who turns to have mental disorder. For example, those who suffered from heartbreak from relationship. Okay, just a short sharing. I have a friend who is a normal person, and then she turns to become unsound mind because she had a very a damaging relationship, a very heartbroken relationship. So the so-called boyfriend ran away with the money. They sort of wanted to start a business together, and then the boyfriend ran away, left the country, and couldn't be contacted at all. Initially, they were supposed to, get married together, but somehow, I think the guy just went missing thereafter. So what happened to the lady? So the lady started to question life and all that. So this is where the situation, life changed for this lady. She started to, I think, overthink, and this caused damage to her brain. So she started to self-talking to herself slowly. So this kind of mental illness thing, especially when it start to damage your brain, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It can happen at the beginning, in a slow progress stage. Maybe 3 months later, half year later, your situation will be more serious. So she starts self-talking a little bit to herself. Then the symptom becomes very obvious to the family member, where she stay in her room. She self-talk to herself within the room herself for 12 hours, even midnight, she start talking to herself and all that. So things become very apparent, very clear that this lady is suffering from brain damage and all that. So they brought her to meet some psychiatrists. Psychiatrists determine that, yeah, this lady has an illness and start to give her medication. But then she stopped taking medication because somehow her condition recovered. She then went for TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, Theta and all that. But somehow situation become worsened because she stopped taking medication, and then she thought she recovered. And then when you have this kind of illness, you need to constantly take medication. But she did not. She stopped for half a year. Then the situation just become worse. Okay, so this caused her brain cell. They went for a specialist to check, found out that the brain condition really getting worse and worse. So what happened at the end of the day? So in today's context, in this situation, this single lady has to be taken care, usually by family member. So imagine if you're in these situations, you have fathers who is already old enough and may at any point of time pass away. And you maybe have some caring brothers and sisters, but sooner or later, they will also have their own families. They get married, have their own kids. They won't be 24/7 take care of you. So in these situations, assuming this patient has property, what can this patient do? Of course, the very obvious solution is to sell off the property of this patient so that we can use the proceed to finance the medication or hire people to take care of the patient. Okay, but remember, when you want to sell the property belongs to this patient, right? Let's analyze the property. Either the property has a title or without title. So you would have to enter into an S&P and all that, or letter offer when you want to engage an agent to sell, right? But before this patient can take the pen and sign on the letter offer, you need to ask this question: Can my family member who suffers from mental disorder sign the S&P and then sell it? The answer is a straight no. She cannot sign that letter offer because under the law, when you want to sign a letter offer, it is a contract that this individual enter into. So very clearly in this slide, I've showed the law. I think section 12 says that if you're unsound, right, you cannot sign into a contract. So even if you have signed the contract, let's say the letter offer or even the sale and purchase agreement, the documents that you have signed would be held not valid under the law. This will become a situation where the contract that you have signed turn into become void at the beginning. Like we never treat that there is a contract exists at all. Okay. So a second situation, before we go into all the solution and analysis, is when you are involved in an accident. You drive a car, let's say X70 Saga, in the highway one day, boom, just like that, you are involved in an accident and you become comatose, you have to lie on a bed and all that. Once you are able to wake up, you realize your whole body is paralyzed, from the head to the bottom. You can only, communicate using your eyeball and all that with your family member. So in this situation, you are also considered mentally disabled, One is health AU. This one may be unsound mind means you can only use eyes to communicate. It is also considered a serious mental illness, even though you're rational enough. So you can't move your body. There's also a situation where comatose. So, but you're still alive. So in this situation, what can your family member do, right? There are certain family member that wanted to sell the house. So this is a situation before we go into the selling of house is that you may face situation, let's say your husband involved in an accident and then became or is in a vegetative state, right? Then he's lying down on the bed and all that. So it became a situation, maybe the wife wanted to take care of the estate, but the mother-in-law also come into the picture. So what happened is if you have people challenge you for all these rights to manage the estate of this patient, right? it will turn into a court case. So you then have to apply to the court under this Order 76 to become the litigation representative, okay, under the law. But the court is fair. They look into also the best interest of the mental disorder patients. Right. So I'll go back into all this. So in the case of this MMIP services in Berhad against Kartik, right, it's actually a 2022, a very latest case. So the son involved in an accident and turned vegetative. So the mother and the wife is now arguing who should actually takes care of the estate of the son, right? So the wife wanted to appoint Amanah Raya, Amanah Raya to take care of the estate of the son. So they apply under the Order 76. And the mother, of course, being the closest person, right, recognized under the law, wanted to take care of the estate of the son so that they can, withdraw money and go buy medicine and pay for the treatment of this son who is still alive for the moment. So in this case, the court held that the mother is still the caretaker of the son and not the wife, because the wife firstly failed to prove that the mother is not fit to take care of the son. In this case, the mother is quite young, is 39 years old. And it is also not convenient based on the requests of the wife, right, to appoint the Amanah Raya Berhad to become the caretaker under this mental health order or Order 76, right, to take care of the son's estate. Because Amanah Raya is quite far, I think they are in Kuantan. So it's for the mother to travel from Kuantan every time to withdraw money from Amanah Raya Berhad maybe in KL and all that. So it becomes very inconvenient. So the court also looked into the best interest of the patient in this case. So let's look into, if you want to sell, right, the property of this patient, we call it patient, all right, just to be clear. What you need is actually a mental health order. So this mental health order appoints a committee. Okay, a committee is someone that the court deems fit to manage the estate of this patient who is still alive. And you can actually appoint more than one committee. Committee is like ahli jawatan kuasa. It's not a representative, but it's a committee because you are still governed under the Mental Health Act. The whole act governs your procedure and the things that you can do. All right. It is only for you to manage the estate of this patient, only for the purpose of maybe selling the house and all that. And you use the proceed to then take good care of the patient, like to buy medication, to fund his living expenses and all that, not for your own purpose. If the court found out or someone report to the court that you're using their money after you have sold the house, right, for your own purpose, the court order may be revoked by the court. So if you want to sell a property, you have no choice. You need to get the court to appoint a committee under this mental health order, right? And then you can then become the representative of this mental disorder patient or your family member who suffer from all these mental illness disease to sign the letter offer and the sell and purchase agreement. Because the entire sale transaction involves a lot of document as well. Let's say it's a property with consent, right? Consent, there are basically few types. You may need to sign consent to charge form to apply for consent to charge. In Selangor, there are 9 land officers. In KL, you have 1. You may also need to sign certain property with low cost consent. So there are also documents under that low cost application that you need to apply from the Lembaga Hartanah Perumahan Selangor. So all of these cannot be signed by someone who has mental disorder. Okay, what is a fine line to determine whether one has mental disorder, right? Number 1, it shows symptoms and you as family member, you bring them to the specialist. So the specialist doctor would certify them, this patient actually suffers from mental illness and all that, so that he's not able to take care of himself and is not able to work. So the specialist doctor will issue a letter. So you can take this letter, pass it to your lawyer, and your lawyer will apply for the court document. You also have to affirm an affidavit. Affidavit is basically the facts of you as the applicant to apply to become committee under this mental health order. And then you will have to go to the High Court being the court having that jurisdiction to apply for this court order. So the court will look into this specialist report and see what are the nature or degree of the person's condition, how serious is their illness, and how complex is their state. Does this person has a state in overseas, Singapore, Malaysia, and how well the patient can handle his estate, which means is he still rational enough to know what he's selling or and all that. So with this specialist report that the specialist doctor have prepared, so the lawyer would then attach and submit to the court. So once a committee is appointed, right, then the court would allow the committee appointed under the court order to sign the documents. So you can receive rental income, rental agreement, deed of assignment, even the income tax form. So there's one question: what if the mental disorder patient or this person who is lying on the bed, right, suddenly pass away, right? This mental health order will be automatically be revoked by way of operation of law. So no more enforced under the law, and you must then apply for probate or LA on behalf of the patient, so that you can then manage with the probate or LA. So can we sue the committee if they breach their duty, right? Let's say they sell the property, then the money goes into their pocket. Of course we can, because under the court order it's very clear that you can only take the proceed to pay for the expenses. So let's say you have a brother who apply for this mental health order, right? And you're carrying actions on behalf of the patient. You found out that this brother actually used the patient's proceed after the sale of the property and use it for his own expenses, entertainment and all that. Being maybe friends or party interested, you can apply to the court to revoke the court order. All right. So Karamjit Singh and Kiran Singh case is a quite latest case as well. I think 2023. I think I just got it 2 days ago, but it was actually a 2022 trial case. They have a reported case quite recent. So the court held that once this person passed away, RIP here, the court order for the mental health order would have no effect. So this is a fine line, because there are also a lot of client asking me on this. My who and who, is lying down, but remember he hasn't passed away. So the fine line after you pass away, you need to go by way of the estate administration and apply for those court order like the probate and LA. But before, you can consider go for a mental health order, and let's say this person's still rational and logic and can make decision, but physically incapacitated, right? You can consider to do a power attorney that this patient, not patient yet, but he's starting to lose rationality. Power authorize you, quickly go to the bank and withdraw the money. Okay, so how do you want to set aside mental health order? Of course, you want to set aside, it's your burden then to come to the High Court and to prove that the mental health order granted to this committee or patient has a strong valid reason to be set aside. For example, the patient is faking. Maybe they're faking themselves to be mentally ill. They want to use the mental health order to then prove that they are mentally ill to claim for insurance disbursement and all that, right? There are cases like this. So insurance company can consider to set aside all this mental health order because the patient actually is faking the illness. So they should go and lodge a police report and also get a specialist doctor report to justify or to prove that mental illness is actually fake or is a fake illness created by the patient itself or the family member. Okay, this part I think I'm going to take it out later, just for those who are the 6% here. Okay, this one is a little bit of tax planning for mental illness. Let's say this one on individual level. If you have mental illness and all that, of course you can claim for your medical expenses up to 8,000. The extra 1,000, despite there's actually 9,000, it's for COVID tests and all that. So this part is under the medical expenses. If you have mental illness, I think currently the latest development is that you can claim for yourself, your wife, and your children. So brother, sister, you still can't claim, but you can help them to claim under their individual tax relief. So this one, I will take it out later. I just want to give those who appear live. Thank you for your support. Okay, another tax planning is for those who is director. This one, under the income tax law, right, you can actually claim tax exemption as well for directors' gratuity. So if you want to retire as a director, you can actually claim this. There are certain tax planning that you have to go through. For example, should I tell? There's certain court of SSN document, constitution and all that you have to amend. And then once you have amended and all that, you actually don't need to pay a single cent. Just an example, if you are receiving director fee, right, 15,000 a month, you times 12, and you times the amount of year that you have served, let's say 30 years, and then the company is giving you all this gratuity. Imagine how many six figures you can save from paying tax. But there are certain policy decision making that you should make at the company level. So those who are directors can consider on this. What? That's all. I think I saved the best at the last. All right. So that's all for today. I mean, I don't want to go too long on this live video. Thank you so much for your support. I look forward maybe if there's other legal topics or law topics that you would like to know, drop me a comment. Then I'll try to look into the case law and all that. We'll try to come up with a new topic next week. All right. Thank you so much. And I look forward to see you all soon.